The funny thing that's happening right now, Robinhood is going public or something, some fake IPO and stuff like that, or a SPAC. And I'm just going, you got to be kidding me. In the 1950s, when I was a kid, the only people that were in the stock market were gamblers.
When I was in school, in high school,
When I was a kid,
nobody touched stocks.
nobody was in the stock market.
The only thing people bought were bonds.
Only gamblers were in the stock market.
Only people that bought stocks were gamblers.
The only people that were in stock market were gamblers. Everybody else, back in my times in the 60s and 70s, were in bonds.
Nobody bought real estate. They bought a house, but there was not much real estate investing in commercial, at least.
They wouldn't go in the stock market because they were in the bond market. The bonds were safer. So what they do is create this thing called a 401k and the IRA to kind of force the baby boomers into the stock market. And who controls the stock market? Well, the central banks, the Treasury, and Wall Street.
The biggest crooks are on Wall Street. They are the biggest banks. They're JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Wall Street. But that's not capitalism, that's criminal.
Back in the 1950s, people didn't live that long anyway. We didn't have these things called 401ks and all this. So I'll say it again, in the 50s, only gamblers were in the stock market. So if you said, oh, I made some money in the stock market, everybody says, oh, the guy's a gambler or a drug dealer or something. It was just not cool.
So what happens here is the relationship, as you can see this chart here. You have bonds like U.S. Treasuries, and then you have stocks, something that's called equities. So what happened was when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard in 71, remember 71 was Nixon taking the dollar off the gold standard. 72, Nixon went to China, which opened the door for Walmart shoppers and Amazon. And then all these things started to happen. So the U.S. economy started to sink because the Chinese were producing better products at better prices. And then a guy like Clinton opened the Chinese door to the WTO, the World Trade Organization.
But as some of you know, in 1971, the dollar came off the gold standard, but something else happened in the 70s. This is 1974, the 401k was started. And I call 401k the butt of the dog. That's where all the garbage comes out of. And I'm not saying, please hear me, I'm not saying don't have a 401k, but I wouldn't touch one. I don't touch used toilet paper. I don't like 401ks. In 74, the 401k comes out, and then all of a sudden, everybody's getting forced into the stock market. And so you have 1971, Nixon takes the dollar off the gold standard, and then 74, they push all the rookies into the stock market. And so in 2021, all the millennials and all the hodlers and the gamblers and all this stuff, they're jumping onto the Robinhood app and GameStop and all this. I'm going, well, I guess that's what happens. Long before a company goes through an IPO, initial public offering, the money's already been made. So people are hanging around hoping to get into the Robinhood IPO. Well, the rich have already exited. They've already made their money. So that's why back in the 90s, I started studying the stock market by actually taking 3 companies public. So the first 3 companies I started, we went public on the Toronto Stock Exchange, but the first round investors came in at a penny.
The CEOs and the executives of these major corporations in America have been screwing everybody because they were borrowing money from the company to buy back the shares of their stock because the price of money was so cheap. But it drove the stock market to all-time high. So today, of the S&P 500, sort of the benchmark of how good the economy is, of the S&P 500, 100 or 20% of the S&P 500 are zombies.
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now, let's continue.
In other words, their debt is so high because their stock price is high, but they kept borrowing money to prop up the stock market.
So the first round investors in Robinhood are probably at pennies. What's happening now is all the young people, Robinhood made it so easy for young people or anybody with a computer or an iPhone to enter the stock market that you can get in there for pennies. And so that's what drives the price of a stock up. And then some of you may remember not too long ago in the year 2000, it was companies like Amazon and Pets.com and those other goofy stocks. So I've watched all of this happen. I've never got involved in it except the companies I took public. I took them public only because that's how badly I wanted to learn the stock market. And so that's why, being an old guy, I wouldn't touch this stuff. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. Okay, like my friend Dave Ramsey says, live debt-free. I think most people without financial education should live debt-free. But what I do, and my friend Ken McElroy does, and Kim does, we borrow our butts off. Why do we borrow our butts off? Because in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. See, there's an advantage of getting older. So he took the dollar off the gold standard, and so 71, the US dollar became debt and taxes. And FYI, on August 15th, 2021 is the 50th anniversary of President Nixon taking the US dollar off the gold standard. And FYI, that's one of the most stupid things he could have done. Of course, Nixon wasn't the brightest match in the box. But anyway, he didn't know that was Lenin who said the best way to kill capitalism is to debauch the currency. It's kind of interesting being an old guy watching this whole thing happen. So I'll just give you a saying, okay? So I want you to prepare for this. There's an old saying that goes, well, how did you go bankrupt? And the answer is, well, I got bankrupt two ways. First, slowly, then suddenly. All of the guys who wanted to get in on the IPO, like the Robinhood IPO, they're coming in at first round at pennies. So a penny would buy you a share of my company. And the object was to take it public at $2. That's how money is made. So this Robinhood thing that's coming in right now in 2021, the money's already been made. The spooky thing is Robinhood has made it so easy for so many people to jump into the stock market just as it goes to the top. And I'm not saying it's coming down, but if history is any guide, everything that goes up comes down. So I'd like to say this to you, like I was talking to another friend, of course he's a stock guy, and stock guys always lie. They lie because they pretend they know what's going to come. So I was talking to my friend, he says, oh, don't worry, this is 2021. The stock market's going to stay up till 2025. And I go, give me a break. I mean, are you Jesus Christ? Are you Buddha? Are you Muhammad? Can you predict that? Here where the federal Biden and the Treasury and the Fed are printing trillions of dollars, and this thing is going into this gigantic souffle. It's about to come crashing down. When? I don't know. But that's why back in the 50s, nobody was in the stock market. Now everybody's in the stock market.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.